Hello guys, welcome back to Java Phonetics. Today we're going to be talking about variable scope. So you might be wondering what is the scope of a variable. So by definition, a scope means a lifespan of a variable. That is the time from its declaration until the time it no longer exists in memory. That is basically the scope of a local variable. So local variables, instance variables, and static variables, they all have different scopes. So let's start with local variable scope. So its lifespan is from the declaration of that part of variable until the end of the block. So if you have, let's start with blocks. If you have a block like this and you have int age equals to 9, so the lifespan of this variable will start from the time it was declared here from the line 4 and it will end here. So when this block of code after this block of code gets executed, this variable no longer exists in memory. It becomes dead. The same goes if it was an instance block. The same goes if it's declared perhaps in one of the method. So once the main method completes, this variable no longer exists in memory. That is what we mean when we say from the declaration to the end of the block. So local variables, guys, have a very short lifespan. Then we have instance variable. So the instance variable, their scope starts from the time of declaration until object is garbage collected in memory. So we know, guys, that this is an instance variable. So this variable will remain in memory until object gets, so if I do something, if I create an object of this class basic equals to new basic. Yes. As you can see, guys, I have created an object of type basic, and this object, we know that it has int age in memory. So when we say this int age, its lifespan is from the time of its declaration to the time when the object gets garbage collected. So if we create this object, until this object basic gets garbage collected in memory, this variable always exists in this object. This is what we mean by it exists until the object gets garbage collected in memory. So there's what we call garbage collection. We will talk about it later. Garbage collection is a mechanism that Java uses to free up unused objects that are in the heap so that you don't end up getting out of memory error. So that's what the garbage collection does. So this variable will exist until the object is garbage, the object to which it belongs, it gets garbage collected. That's it about the scope of instance variable. Then the scope of static variables. So static variables has the longest lifespan. So it will exist from the time of its declaration until the program ends. So if you have static, this is a static variable, which is a class variable, int age equals to 9. So this int age will always exist in memory, regardless of whether this object was created and was garbage collected or not. That is why the initialization of this object, it happens during class loading. It doesn't happen at runtime. It happens during class loading. When this class gets loaded into the runtime of Java, this variable gets initialized. And this does not belong to an object of this type. belongs to a class of this to basic class. So we'll talk more about classes and object in future tutorial. But for now, just know that this age variable will always exist in memory as long as the program is still running. When the program ends, only then will it cease to exist. So the lifespan of an instance variable is equivalent to the lifespan of a variable of a program. So we see that local variable has the shortest lifespan, and then instance variable has the next lifespan, which is until the object gets garbage collected. And then we also see that static variable has a lifespan that is equivalent to the lifespan of a program. However, although I said local variable has the shortest lifespan, in a case where a local variable is declared in a program, in a method that doesn't end, like say inside that method you have an infinite loop, say, then in that case we can technically say that particular variable will never be, will always be in memory. It won't cease to exist. Why? Because the context in which it exists does not end, doesn't terminate. So let me explain what I mean. So if you have something like this, public static void print, and you have int sum equals to 0, and you have while true. So we see that when you call this function will never terminate. So that means this variable will always exist, because the context in which it exists doesn't terminate. That's what I mean by this local variable can still spend a long time depending on the context in which it exists. So guys, I think I have said everything that I wanted to say with regard to the scope of variables. Thank you very much. If you like this video tutorial, please subscribe. If you don't like this video tutorial, also please subscribe. See you in the next video tutorial.